Think you know what way it's going to go? Make your bet at Sports Interaction. Whatever your sport, Sports Interaction has you covered pregame, live betting on all major sports, and prop bets. Want to bet? Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. 19 and over, please play responsibly.
Well, they're selling everything that isn't nailed down, right? I mean, this has been the plan. If you look at what Kyle Davidson, their GM, has already amassed in terms of draft pick capital for this year, he's sitting pretty good. You know, this is a huge draft for Chicago and their scouts. I mean, obviously they're hoping to win the number one overall pick and get Connor Bedard. But even if they don't, you know, they have a number of lottery tickets here that they're hoping to cash in on. You know, Toews and Kane are the most important questions. Those players have full control over the situation with no movement clauses. Don't believe they've made any decisions at this time. So that's still kind of a fluid thing. What happens there? You know, but they have a number of other players. I mean, they have Max Domi, who's on an affordable contract, actually having pretty nice season. You know, he carries a $3 million cap hit. That's cheaper than a lot of the other forwards we're talking about. So with the cap squeeze on, I could see him being moved. Andreas Athanasiou's in a similar spot with them, a forward that's been around the league a long time. You know, I should mention Sam Lafferty as another example. He's a player that, again, if a team traded for him and you saw the headline, if you're not following the entire league closely, you might say who, but I think that he's garnered a fair amount of interest just because he's on a very controlled contract and you know, can provide, you know, some good bottom 6 minutes and bring some flexibility to some contenders who are looking for very, very specific ads. And then Jake McCabe is probably the biggest name among their defensemen. You know, they also have Jack Johnson and Jared Tenorti on expiring deals, but Jake McCabe is not on an expiring deal. Still has some tenure on his contract, and he's been, I think, one of the bright spots of their team. If you look at what happens when he's on the ice, is the Blackhawks actually hold their own. When he's not on the ice, they are getting pounded. And so, you know, it's probably more nuanced than that, but clearly good things are happening on a bad team when Jake McCabe is out there. And I think because there's some control there with an additional year and his contract isn't too onerous, you know, some of the contenders are sniffed around him. He does have a 7-team no trade clause. So I know Frank Cervalli reported this week that the Leafs were interested. You know, I think Edmonton has had some interest in him. I'm sure others as well. But, you know, he does have a certain amount of control because of that no trade clause.
You really weren't kidding when you said you were emptying your brain.
Well, if you write 5,000 words on this stuff in about a 2-day window, it's all fresh, put it that way.
St. Louis. I should mention, I'm going to plug Jeremy Rutherford, my colleague in St. Louis, who had an exclusive with Ryan O'Reilly earlier this week for The Athletic. I want to be here is the big quote that's being pulled for the headline. That's not a guarantee with his future with the St. Louis Blues.
Far from a guarantee. And, you know, the Blues have 8 unrestricted free agents, pending unrestricted free agents. And so they have a lot to sell. I think what has to happen is, does Doug Armstrong truly commit to the sell? And I don't think the for sale sign is up just yet on the Enterprise Center in St. Louis, but I'm not sure we're too far away from it. And certainly gauging the feeling around the league from other executives and teams that are sizing up this market, you know, they expect that ultimately the Blues will be a team that are, you know, moving out players. And so that could mean Ryan O'Reilly. I think it probably will be Ryan O'Reilly. You know, I'm not sure there's a contract fit for him long-term there. And so, you know, he's number 3 on my big board. So, you know, because I am anticipating he will be traded ultimately, even if the process of that trade is only just beginning. You know, Darren Dreger reported Tuesday on TSN that officially he's on the market. You know, teams are starting to be told that, but, you know, there's still a fair bit of runway here to sort out what that all means. You know, but it's a big acquisition. I mean, Ryan O'Reilly, let's call it as it is. He's not had a season up to his standards. He was point production wise his worst season in his career since he was a rookie. Suffered a broken foot earlier in the month, so he's sidelined right now. But I think ultimately, when you have a recent Conn Smythe winner and a player with such a long track record of 200-foot brilliance, frankly, I mean, one of the better all around centers in the game for a long time. You know, contending teams are going to want that. Even if it's been a tough year. And so he's probably the biggest piece to sell, but, you know, don't sleep on Vladimir Tarasenko, who's done nothing but put the puck in the net since entering the league. And then you go down the list. They got guys like Ivan Barbashev, Mikola, the defenseman, you know, even players like Noel Achari, who would, you know, be a a depth addition for a team. I think if St. Louis leans into a sell, they have a lot of pieces to sell and could start their reboot here, because obviously they have some young players, the Kairos and like that they've signed long term. I think that they might be turning over a little bit from that 2019 Cup winner to the next gen. And this deadline will be a big chance to do that.